Welcome back. I'm Anissa Nawe, and you're in the Now. The Guardian has recently decided, I should say, to remove an option to comment on their site concerning articles about refugees and race. Joining us in the Now is Glyn Ford, a senior advisor at G+ Europe, also a former British MEP, speaking to us from Brussels. Thanks for being with us. Is this censorship?
In a way it is, although there's no sort of human right to have a comment column in a newspaper. But yes, I'm slightly surprised that they've taken that choice.
But sites like The Guardian do have to take steps to block or monitor hate speech, right? I assume that's what's behind this. But where do you draw the line?
Well, I mean, there's a difference between taking down the whole ability to comment and actually having a manager selecting what's allowed and what's not allowed on the basis of the law. I mean, as a Guardian reader myself and somebody who at least reads the comments column, although I don't join in the comments, you regularly see that certain comments have been deleted for various reasons. There's a difference between that and taking down the ability to comment entirely.
In a way, comments could show the true depth of an issue in a way. Is this a sign of how serious the situation and sentiment in Europe has gotten about refugees and migrants?
Well, I mean, I think there are other ways of measuring how the general population feels rather than the self-selected groups that decide they want to spend their time writing long screeds to comment columns. Nevertheless, I think it's probably a symptom of a wider problem. If one looks across the European Union and looks, for example, at the situation of Angela Merkel, I mean, she seems to be politically at the weakest she's been since she was originally elected. There's now some doubt as to whether, if she fares badly in next year's regional elections in early 2017, that she'll in fact be a candidate for chancellorship in summer 2017. So I mean, and all the evidence is that Angela Merkel's not alone. Those that have been what one might call soft on refugees, I wouldn't use the term myself, have been suffering politically. So I think we do have a problem, and one of the reasons David Cameron is apparently pushing to actually have the referendum on whether we stay in the European Union in June rather than September is because he feels that a new flood of refugees could tip the balance into the no column.
Just this week in Germany, a video emerged of young migrants harassing an elderly man after he apparently tried to stop some kind of sexual harassment on the metro in Munich. I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's certainly been going around the internet. But these bouts of violence, we've seen several, let's say, documentation of a problem. Can you blame those who express negativity towards migrants when you see this kind of flood of documentation of a problem across Europe?
Well, I think the problem is that, of course, one understands the negativity towards individuals who sexually molest people or commit any other crimes. It's the stigmatization of a whole group. Migrants are as varied as any other part of the community, and one would be horrified these days in the European Union if one used the same kind of derogatory comments that are being made about migrants, about, for example, the Jewish community or the black community. It's taken a long time for some people to realize that not all Jews are the same and not all black people are the same. They still haven't apparently learned a lesson about migrants.
What can Europeans do or leaders do to make sure videos like this doesn't spoil the image or reputation for all refugees?
Well, I mean, I'm not in favour of stopping those kind of videos as long as they're in the law, and I haven't seen this particular one. But what we do need to see is get some of the positive messages out. Many people in the United Kingdom, and I speak for the United Kingdom because I know it best, being British myself, in hospitals actually depend on the care of migrants to make sure that they get well again. The doctors are operating on them, and the people, the migrants who are driving their buses and their trains and everything else. We need to get those positive stories out as well.
Just finally, the situation is dire, it seems. European politicians are making bigger and bigger statements, but doing very little, it seems. Why? Where's the hesitation? Can they not agree? Is that the problem?
I mean, the problem is that everybody thinks that there's some magic solution that's not going to be hard and expensive. The reality is, if we're going to take in a million, I mean, 0.2% of our population, let's get it in context, but nevertheless, in certain areas there is an enormous burden. If we're going to take those people in, it requires the governments to actually spend money to make sure that the schools that are available, the housing's available, and put that money in. And if you don't put that money in, the people who find their standards of life actually go down because they've got new poor people coming into their area are understandably going to complain, not because they're migrants, but because their standards of living are being hit.
Former British MEP Glyn Ford, currently a senior advisor at G+ Europe. Thanks for being in the Now.